script that I'm calling here script.cap that will place me in the middle of the connections, allowing better cap to inject the hook code of these into the browser of the target. I'm going to show you how to do this, how to use BetterCap, and how to write this script yourself as we go through the course. So this is just a teaser for you to enjoy. Do not worry about the technicalities. So I'm going to simply run it, and now BetterCap is going to intercept all the data that will be sent and received from this computer. And the last step, I'm going to run a caplet that is called HSTS hijack. This script will allow us to downgrade connections and inject beeps. I'm going to show you how to write that script and use it later on in the course. So just watch it and enjoy. So I'm simply going to hit enter to run that, and as you can see, we get errors, meaning that everything is running successfully. And I'm also in here, if you look at the top part of my terminal window, I'm actually listening for incoming connections, because eventually the end goal is I want to be able to receive a connection from the target computer from my back to, so that I can control their computer and do anything I want on it. So when my attack is successful, I will get a connection in here. So let's go ahead to the target computer and simply run the browser. So we're assuming that this is the normal target user. They run their browser, and for example, they go to google.ie in order to just browse the internet. Or search for something that is interesting to them. Now, when this happens, BetterCap is gonna automatically inject the hook code for beef, and if we go to beef, you can see that now we have a new online browser. So right now, beef is connected to this browser right here. This browser is hooked to beef, and therefore we can click on it, get detailed information about it, and if we click on the commands, we'll be able to run a large number of commands that will allow us to do so much on that target. Now, we won't go through all of that later on in the course, but the one that I want to show you right now is in the social engineering category. It basically shows a fake notification bar for Chrome browsers. So we're going to display a message saying critical update, click install, and then we're going to give a link to my back door. When the user clicks on that message, they will install a backdoor. Now I've already created that backdoor and hosted it on the web server of Kali. Again, I will show you how to use that web server and show you how to create backdoors later on in the course. So for now, we're just that we already know, just as a teaser, hit execute, and let's go to the target browser, and as you can see, we're getting an application bar in here, telling us that there is a critical update. Click here to install, and you could say that there's an update for Chrome or whatever, you can do this message more. So if you click on install, you'll see that the file will get downloaded in my downloads, just like any other file. And if I go to the downloads, let me show you what this file looks like. You will notice that the file has the right icon for the Chrome install. So right here I actually have a clean Chrome installer. As you can see, I'm naming it clean. And this is the
Come on. man. What is up? Sheesh. Ganun. Oh. Huh? Bakit 5G? Ayun pala eh. Try yan.
Hello and welcome. My name is Zaid. I'm an ethical hacker, a computer scientist, and I'll be your instructor in this course. In this course, I'm going to teach you ethical hacking from scratch. So I'm going to assume that you have no prior knowledge, and by the end of it, you'll be at a high intermediate level. So we'll start by teaching you how to set up a penetration testing lab and how to install the needed software so you can practice hacking safely. Once done, the course is divided into 4 main penetration testing sections. The first is the network hacking section, where you learn how networks work, how devices communicate with each other, and how to exploit this method of communication to control all the connections around you, crack Wi-Fi keys, and gain access to Wi-Fi networks, whether they use web, WPA or WPA2, and intercept data to capture usernames, passwords, chat messages, or anything that anybody does on the same network. Once done with this, we'll move to the gaining access section, where you learn how to gain access to servers and personal computers. So first, you'll learn how to gather comprehensive information about your target, discover vulnerabilities, and exploit them to gain full control over the target system. Not only that, but you'll also learn how to generate undetectable backdoors and use social engineering to deliver them to your target as a fake update, or as a PDF, or an image, or any other file that they might be interested in. You'll also learn how to spoof emails, so when they're delivered to your target, they appear as if they're sent from a friend, from their boss, or from any address that they're likely to interact with. Once done with all of this, we'll move to the post-exploitation section, where you learn what can you do with the access that you gained in the previous sections. So you learn how to interact with the file system, how to execute system commands, record key strikes, open the webcam, and even use the hacked computer as a pivot to hack into other computers. Once done with all of this, we'll move to the website hacking section, where you learn how websites work, how to gather comprehensive information about a target website, and how to discover and exploit a number of dangerous vulnerabilities that allow you to gain full control over the target website. At the end of each section, you learn how to secure systems and secure yourself from the discussed attacks. Now, as I promised you, this course is going to be highly practical, but I also promised that I will not neglect the theory. Now, what we mean by hacking is being able to gain access to a system that you're not supposed to have access to. So, for example, logging into an email account that you're not supposed to have access to is considered hacking that account. Gaining access to a remote computer that you're not supposed to have access to is hacking that computer. Reading information that you're not supposed to be able to read, again, is considered hacking. So you can see that there is a large number of ways to hack into a system, and the word hacking can refer to a number of things, but the main concept is the same. Gaining access or being able to do things that you're not supposed to be able to do is considered hacking. Now, there are 3 main types of hackers. We have the black hat hackers. These are the bad people that hack systems illegally in order to steal money or to achieve their own illegal goals. The second part of hackers are the white hat hackers. So this is us. These people use the same techniques used by black hat hackers, and they also hack into systems, but they only hack into systems that they have permission to hack in order to test the security of these systems. And finally, we have the gray hat hackers. These are a mixture of the two. So they'll hack into any system, even if they don't have permission to test the security of the system, but they will never steal money or damage that system, and in most cases they'll go ahead and tell the administrator of that system. But what they do is still illegal because they test the security of systems that they do not own or do not have permission to test. Now, one big question that people always ask is, why hacking? Why teach or learn hacking? Well, hacking is an existing industry. There are lots of job opportunities for ethical hackers, for people like us who will go ahead and test the security of systems to make sure that these systems are secure and not vulnerable to black hat hackers. There's actually a huge demand for ethical hackers these days because of the increased amount of hacking attacks. So we hear on the daily, big systems and big companies are getting hacked. Not so long ago, Uber got hacked and information of more than 56 million users were exposed. So companies like Uber, Facebook, and Google, they hire hackers in order to try and hack into their systems and tell them where the weaknesses are so that they can fix it. They also have bug bounty programs where they literally ask all the hackers around the world to go ahead and try to hack into their websites and with their web applications, and if they could, they will pay them a bounty for the bugs that they find. As I mentioned, this course is going to be highly practical. Therefore, you will need a lab, a place where you can practice and experiment with the things that you're going to learn in the course. Not only that, but having a lab is essential for hackers or pen testers, because let's say you discovered a new attack or you want to experiment with a new attack, or you learned something new online and you want to test it, then the perfect place for you to test this and practice hacking is a hacking or a testing lab. Now, to create a lab, you just need a number of computers with different operating systems, and you'll need a number of networks if you're testing network attacks, and if you're testing website attacks, then you will need to install websites on these computers. Or you can do all of this inside your computer, inside one machine, and install everything else as virtual machines. This is what we're going to do. So let's say you have your computer right here. This is your main computer that you use every day to check your emails or even to watch this course. This computer might be running Windows or X or Linux. It doesn't really matter. It can run any operating system. You can keep all the programs that you love and like, and install a virtualization software such as VirtualBox or VMware. A virtualization software allows us to create a number of virtual computers inside your main computer. So we can have 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 computers all installed inside your main operating system, inside your main computer. The really cool thing about this is you will not need a number of computers. You can do everything inside a single computer. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a hacking machine. This is going to be the machine that we will use in order to hack into other machines. We're going to install Kali Linux on it, and we'll talk about what that is later on. And we're going to have 2 target machines. These are machines that we're going to try to hack into and practice hacking against. One of them is going to be running Windows, and the other one is going to be running an operating system called Metasploitable, and we will talk about that once we get to it. Now, it is very important to understand that you will not lose any functionality when you install an operating system as a virtual machine. You can use that machine exactly as if it's a real physical machine. So the really cool thing about using virtual machines, first of all, you're not going to lose any functionality. Second, all the machines are going to be isolated. So as we go through the course, we're going to be trying to hack into these machines, and we might actually break one of them. But that's fine. It will not affect your host machine. You will be able to easily fix this and go back to a snapshot of when the machine was working without affecting your main computer. The other cool thing is that you'll be able to have a number of different versions of each of these machines, and you'll be able to change the configuration easily, change the network settings, or switch between different states of these machines, and so on. So, by using virtualization, you will not lose any functionality, but you will gain so many cool features. And the main thing to keep in mind is your host machine, your main computer, will never be affected. It's completely isolated, and if we break any of these machines, nothing will happen to your precious computer that you use every day. And this way, you can always use your host machine for daily use, for checking emails, watching the videos, doing whatever you do normally, and then use your virtual machines for hacking and practicing the attacks. And this is what we're going to be doing in this course. So right here, I have a Windows computer that does not contain any hacking tools, so I can't really use it for hacking. But I have a virtualization software called VMware installed on it, and this software allows me to run multiple operating systems as virtual machines within this host computer. So I can use the host computer for my daily use, and then use the virtual machine for whatever use I want, for testing or for hacking. So if I zoom in here on the left, you can see that I have Kali Linux installed. This is an operating system that we will use for hacking. You can see I have another Windows computer. You can see that I have Linux, all of it installed as virtual machines. And then we're going to be using these as we go through the course for hacking or for testing without affecting our main host operating system with Windows computers. Now, don't worry about any of this. In the next lectures, I will show you in details how to install this virtualization software, VMware, on all of the major operating systems, on Windows, Linux, or Apple Mac OS. As we go through the course, I will also show you in details how to install operating systems as virtual machines in VMware. The first operating system that we're going to install in our system is Kali Linux. See, throughout the course, we're going to use a number of hacking tools. You can install each of these tools manually, or you can do what most hackers do, including myself, and save time and effort and use an operating system designed for hacking. We're going to use an operating system called Kali Linux. It's a Linux distro based on Debian, and the only difference between Kali and the actual original Debian Linux distro is the fact that Kali has a lot of hacking and penetration testing tools pre-installed and pre-configured in it. Therefore, once you install Kali, you will have access to so many hacking tools without the need to install or configure any of them, which will save you a lot of time and a lot of effort. Now, just like any other operating system, you can install it as a main machine or as a virtual machine. Now, I'm going to install it as a virtual machine because, like I explained in the previous lecture, we will not lose any functionality by using operating systems as virtual machines, and it comes with a lot of benefits because it's completely isolated from our computer that we always use. So if we break the virtual machine or if we want to delete it and reset it, it will not affect our main operating system. Now, the first thing that you want to do is download the virtual image of Kali Linux. So you can download it from the resources of this lecture. To access the resources of the current lecture, we're going to scroll down to the lecture. We're going to click on the resources icon, and then we're going to click on the resource that we want. Now, before going ahead with this, I want to highlight something that is very, very, very important. So please pay attention. This is a custom Kali image that I made for my courses. It is smoother and faster than the original one, it fixes a number of bugs, and it contains a number of extra programs that we need for this course and are not included in the original release. You do not have to use this custom image. You can use the original one. You can even use just a normal Linux distribution, as long as you know how to manually install all of the missing programs and apply the fixes that I did myself. And you can see a full list of them here on the left. Therefore, if you ask us a question in the Q&A section and you're not using the custom image, the first thing that we will ask you is to use the custom Kali image that we made for you, because we know the original one is broken and we will not know the changes you made in order to fix it. So, if you have a 64-bit computer, download it from one of these links. Or if you have a 32-bit computer, then download the 32-bit version from here. For Apple users, if you have an Apple computer, then you should download the 64-bit version in here. If you have one of the older Apple computers, the ones that use the x86 architecture. If you have a newer Apple computer that uses the M1 or the M2 chip or the M3 and so on, then make sure you download the version that says M1 in here, because the normal 64-bit is made for the x86 architecture, so you should be downloading this one that is made specifically for your computer. While waiting on the download, check out our VIP community right here and our YouTube channel. We actually post hacking content on it regularly, so you'll probably find this very, very useful. So make sure you subscribe to stay updated with the latest stuff that we post in here. Once the download is complete, you'll be ready to install Kali as a virtual machine. I will walk you through that in the next lectures, but before moving on, we need to enable virtualization to run virtual machines. You only need to do that if you're running Windows or Linux. You do not need to do this if you're running Apple Mac OS, as Apple computers come with virtualization enabled by default. So skip the rest of this lecture if you're using an Apple computer. If you're using Windows or Linux, then continue with me to see how to enable it. So on Windows, before enabling it, if you want to check if it is already enabled, you're going to have to go to the Start menu. We're going to look for the Task Manager. I have it right here. I'm going to click on More Details. I'm going to go on Performance. And if you look in here, beside virtualization, you can see in my case, it's saying disabled. So we're going to have to enable it. But if it's saying enabled for you, then you can skip the rest of this lecture and move on to the next lecture. If it's saying disabled, then continue with this lecture to learn how to enable virtualization. So to do that, we're going to have to first restart the computer, and as it's booting, as it's starting, you're going to have to press a key combination, usually one of the F keys from your keyboard, to enter the BIOS settings, and from there we can enable it. So let me show you how to do it. Keep in mind, you only need to do this if virtualization is disabled. If it's enabled, then you can simply skip this and continue with the rest of the course. Entering the BIOS settings varies depending on the computer that you have and depending on the motherboard. On the right here, I have a table of the most common computers, along with the buttons that you need to press in order to enter the BIOS settings. So as soon as you turn on the computer or restart it, you'll need to press the button relevant to your computer in here in order to enter the BIOS settings. Once you're there, you want to make sure you enable virtualization. So let me show you how to do this on a real computer. This is a Lenovo computer. Therefore, based on the table that I just showed you, I will need to press F2 as soon as I turn on this computer in order to enter into its BIOS settings. So first, I'm going to hit the power button to turn it on, and as it's being turned on, I'm going to keep pressing F2 to enter the settings. And perfect. As you can see, I am in the BIOS settings right now. Now keep in mind, depending on your computer, the settings might look different than what I have in here. the main thing you need to keep in mind is to enable virtualization. This option can be found in a different window in any of these windows or tabs, but the main thing you want to keep in mind is to look for an option called virtualization, VTX, AMDV, or any of the options in here and enable it. So as you can see for me, the first window that I see is just an information window. It doesn't really allow me to modify anything. Now you can use the keyboard to navigate between these windows or these tabs. So I'm going to press the right arrow to go to the configuration window. And in here, the only thing that I want to modify is Intel virtualization technology. So I'm going to use the down arrow to navigate to that. And I'm going to hit enter to change. This lecture, I'm going to show you how to install Kali Linux as a virtual machine inside Windows. Skip this lecture if you're running Apple, Mac OS or Linux, as I will cover that in the next lectures. Now, I already have it downloaded in here, and as you can see, the file has a .7z extension. This is an archive that contains the actual virtual image of Kali. We did that to compress its size so that it doesn't take a long time to download. So now that we have it downloaded, we're going to need to install a program that can uncompress 7-zip archives and show us the contents. To do that, we're going to go to Chrome, and you want to go to 7-zip.org. I will include that in the resources of this lecture, and you want to download the version that is compatible with your operating system. I have a 64-bit operating system, so I'm downloading 64-bit. One click in here will download it for us. And once the download is complete, we can simply click on it to install it, give it permissions, and click on install. Once the install is complete, we're going to click on close, and we're going to go back on our downloads directory. And right now, because we installed 7-zip, this program, we're going to be able to uncompress this archive and see the contents inside it and see the virtual image inside it. So I'm going to right click, and as you can see, I have an entry called 7-zip now, and if I hover over it and click on extract here, it will uncompress that image and reveal its contents. And perfect, as you can see now, we have a new directory, and you can see the extension now is .vmware VM. So as mentioned in the previous lecture, VMware is the software that we're going to use to run different operating systems as virtual machines. And this file right here is designed to run inside VMware as a virtual machine. So in order to run it, we're going to have to go ahead and install VMware. Now again, I'm going to include the link in the resources. I have it opened in here, and all you have to do is click on the download for Windows. Give it some time to download. Perfect, now the download is complete. We can view it in our downloads, or we can simply just click on it here to run it, give it permissions. And similar to installing any software on Windows, you really don't need to do much. We're simply just going to click on next, 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 accept the agreement, next, 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 and let it install. The installation is complete. We're going to click on finish, and now we should be able to run this virtual machine file that we downloaded, the .vmware VM file, using VMware Workstation Player. So we're going to double click it to start it, and I'm going to minimize this. We're going to click on Open Virtual Machine in here, or you can go on the player, File, and Open. We're going to navigate to the location where we downloaded the virtual image of Kali in my downloads. And as you can see, we have it in here. Keep in mind, it's the .vmware VM file. So it ends with .vmware VM. We're going to click on it. We're going to click on Open. And inside it, we have another file. The only one file that we can select. We're going to select it and click on Open. And if you get no errors, as you can see in here in my case, that's it. The machine is now installed and ready to be used. Now, before running it, I'm going to click on Edit Virtual Machine Settings, or right-click and Settings. just to give you an idea of what the settings look like so you feel more comfortable with VMware, because modifying virtual machine settings is always the same regardless of what type of virtual machine it is. So as you can see in this window, first of all, we can modify the amount of memory that the virtual In this lecture, I'm going to show you how to install Kali Linux. In this lecture, I'm going to show you how to install Kali Linux as a virtual machine inside Linux. Skip this lecture if you have it already installed and revise the previous lectures to see how to install it on Windows or Apple Mac OS. Now, I already have it downloaded in here in my downloads, and as you can see, this is an archive with a 7Z extension. The actual virtual image is compressed inside this archive. We did this to reduce its size so you can download it quicker, but in order to use this virtual image, we're going to have to uncompress the archive. To do that, you simply have to right-click it and click. Okay, now that we have Kali Linux installed, I want to give you a basic overview of this operating system in this lecture so that you're comfortable with it, and we're going to be using it throughout the whole course, so everything is going to become easier for you as we go through the course. Now, the first thing that I want to talk about is the status bar in here. So you can see we have an applications menu in here, and inside it, you can see all the applications are categorized. So we have information gathering applications, vulnerability analysis, web application analysis, reverse engineering, and so on. So you can go on each one of these entries and just select any program that you want to run. And the next menu that we have is the places, which shows you the most common places in the file system. So we have home, we have the desktop, we have the documents, downloads, and so on. So you can access the places from here, and then you click on home. Or you can just click on the files icon in here on the left, and both of these will bring you to the home directory, which is actually the root directory. So it says home in here, but the actual location of this, if I do Control L, you'll see it is /root. So inside this, you can see we have our downloads, music, pictures, similar to the way that you'd have it in Windows and OS X. We also have the time in here, and in here on the right, we have more controls. So the first thing that we have in here is the workspaces. So Linux comes with multiple workspaces by default. Basically, what this allows us to do is we can have this desktop in here. For example, we can open the places, and we can, for example, navigate to downloads and do some work in here. But if we go here to workplaces and go to the second one, you can see that I have an empty desktop that I can do whatever I want. And for example, I can launch Firefox in here. And then again, if I want to go back to the first workspace, all I have to do is click on here, click on number 1, and I'm back in here. And because I've already used up 2 spaces, the system is already creating a third empty space, so I can click on that, and as you can see, I'm in the third space where I can do more stuff. Now you can also navigate between the spaces by pressing Ctrl-Alt, up or down to go up and down in the spaces. The next part of the status bar is this last part in here, and if you click on it, basically the first thing it will allow you to do is control the sound. Next, you'll see your connections. So as you can see right now, and as I showed you before, this is showing up as if we're connected to a wired network because I configured this network to use a NAT network. If you have a wireless adapter connected to this computer, you should be able to see it here. If you don't see it, then follow the link in the resources of this lecture to see how to properly connect your wireless adapter or any USB device to a virtual machine. Now I should note, you can only use external USB adapters in order to access Wi-Fi networks from Kali. You cannot use the built-in Wi-Fi card. But Kali should have internet connection anyway because it is configured to use a NAT network, and as you can see in here, it's telling me my wire is connected. So if I actually go down to Firefox, I'll close this, and if I just go to google.com, you can see it is connected to the internet. So let's go back to where we were, and if we click here, we also have the battery settings, the user settings. You have this button to turn off the machine, this is to lock the machine, and this will show the preferences where you can modify the preferences of the machine. So you have Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, change the background, change the languages, and so on. So you can spend some time getting familiar with this. It's very easy and very intuitive. Same goes to the file manager in here, very intuitive. Double click to go in. You can right click and archive and extract here to uncompress it. You can navigate throughout these files by clicking them, and then you have the trash here, which contains the deleted files. Now we also have the dock in here, which contains the favorite applications, and you can also access all the other applications by clicking on this icon right here, the show applications, and this will show you a menu with the most frequent applications, and then if you click on all, it will show you all the available applications. Okay, now that we had a quick overview of Kali Linux, I want to spend some time talking about the Linux terminal. So you can access the terminal through this application right here. So if we click on that, it will open the terminal window for us. And as you can see, all it is a black screen where you can type commands. Now, the Linux terminal is actually very, very powerful because it can be used to do anything that you can think of, really. A lot of the applications in Linux that have a graphical interface were command prompt programs first, and then people made a graphical interface for it. So a lot of the time, maybe the graphical interface will be buggy or crash, and the terminal program will still work. Also, a lot of the penetration testing tools do not even have a graphical interface. A lot of them can only be used throughout the terminal. Not only that, but in many scenarios, you might only have an SSH or a command prompt access to a machine. So you need to know how to use this command prompt in order to achieve your goals. So throughout the course, we're going to be using the terminal a lot, and that's why I want to spend some time just showing you the basics of it and making sure that you're going to be comfortable using it. Now, the basic idea is you type a command and the result will be displayed for you on screen. So let's have a look on a very, very simple command, which is pwd. Now this command prints the current working directory, hence the name pwd. So if I hit enter, you can see it's printing /root, which means right now I am in the root directory. So basically I am in here. This is the root, it's home. So if I do ls, which is a command to list all the directories and files in the current working directory, we should get all of these directories that we see in here. So if I hit enter, as you can see, I can see all these directories in the current working directory. Now, another very useful command is the cd command. This command allows us to navigate into another directory. So for example, let's say I want to navigate into the downloads. All we have to do is type cd, followed by the name of the directory that I want to navigate to. So I'm going to type downloads. Now if I hit enter, I should be inside the downloads now. So if I do pwd to see my current working directory, you'll see that it's saying I'm in root /downloads. So if I do ls here, it should show me all the directories and files inside downloads. So if I do enter, as you can see, I have a directory and a file in here, and these are the exact same files that you'll see if you double click the downloads here. Now, if you want to go back one directory, so similar to pressing the back button in here, all you have to do is do cd, again the command to change the working directory, followed by dot, and now if I do pwd, you'll see I'm back in root, and if I do ls, you'll see all the directories and files in root. So that's all good, and there's actually a huge number of commands that you can use. So I'm going to include a link in the resources of this lecture of all the Linux commands that you can use. You don't need to know them by heart. We're actually going to be using a lot of them throughout the course, so you're going to naturally learn them as you go through the course. Now, if you are using a command and you're not sure about how this command works, you can just use the man command to display the manual of this command. For example, we've used the ls command here to list the files and directories in the current working directory. But if I do man followed by ls, this basically means I'm requesting the manual of ls. So I'm asking, how can I use the ls command? So if I hit enter, you'll see I'll get a screen similar to a text file, and basically it's giving me a lot of information on how to use the ls command. So you can see that it's telling us that this command will list the directory contents. You can see the way it works by typing ls, followed by the options, followed by a file. If you want to run it on a file, you can see a longer description of the command. And then you can see all the options and the arguments that we can use with this command. Now, in Linux, most of the time, the options will always follow the same syntax. So you either use dash letter or dash dash a word to specify the argument. For example, in here, the dash a and dash dash all will ignore entries starting with dot. So if you keep going down in here, you'll see all the options and arguments you can use with the ls command. And we have another example here. We have the dash l, which means it's going to use a long listing format, which will display more information about the files in the current working directory. So let's have a look on that. I'm going to press Q to exit this, and then we're going to do ls as usual. And since we read the manual, we know we can do dash L to see more information about the files. And if I hit enter now, you can see I'm still getting the same directories, but it's also showing me the permissions, the users, the date created, and so on. So you can use the man command on any command you want, not only on the ls. So you can use it on the pwd, you can use it on the cd, or any other command, and it will show you full description or the manual page of how to use this command. Now, I'm going to clear the screen by typing here. And the next thing that I want to show you is the dash dash help. So this is something that you can use again in almost all commands and all programs in Linux. So you can just type the program name or the command name followed by dash dash help. As you might think, this will show you a help message telling you what this command is or what this program is, the arguments that it takes, how to use these arguments, and examples at the bottom. Now, another useful thing with the terminal, so I'm going to clear this again, is the arrows. So you can press up to go up to see all the commands that we executed before, and again you can go down to navigate between the commands that you executed previously. You can also use the tab for autocomplete. So again, let's do ls, and you can see all the files, and let's say we want to go into documents. So we can do cd followed by documents. You can type documents, or if you're lazy like me, you can just do DOC and press tab, and as you can see, it's automatically completing the rest of the word for me. So this is something that comes very, very handy when you're using the terminal for a long time. Now, what I also want to show you is how to install programs in Kali from the terminal. So first I'm going to clear this, and the first thing that you want to do is update the sources where Kali can search and download programs from. So we're going to do apt-get update. Now apt-get is the name of the application that allows us to download and install programs, and we're saying update because I'm saying that I want you to update the list of all the programs that I can install. So I'm going to hit enter, and you want to make sure that you have internet connection when running this. And as you can see, it's telling me that it's done. And now we can go ahead and start installing applications. So the first program that I want to install is actually a terminal program, so similar to this one, but it allows us to have multiple terminal windows open in the same window. So in order to install a program through the command line, we're going to do apt-get, which is again the name of the program that allows us to install programs on the system. We're going to say that I want to install, and the program that I want to install is called Terminator. So very, very simple. First of all, we're typing the name of the command, which is apt-get. We're saying that I want to install, and the program name that I want to install is called Terminator. So I'm going to hit enter. And this is going to download and install Terminator for me. So you can use the same command to install any program that you want. You just need to replace Terminator with the name of the program that you want to install. Now I've already downloaded and installed this before, so it didn't ask me to confirm. But if you're running this for the first time, it might ask you to confirm whether or not you actually want to install this program. So all you'd have to do is press Y from the keyboard and hit enter. Now as you can see, it's done. So if I go to my all applications in here and just type Terminator, you can see that I have it here. So I'm actually going to drag it and put it in my dock so I can access it easily in the future. So now I can just click it in here, and that will open Terminator for me. Now this is another application that allows me to run commands, so it's exactly the same as this. So again, I can do ls and pwd. The only difference is, with this one, I can actually right click and click on split horizontally, for example, and this will split the same screen into two screens where I can run commands at the same time. So I can have some commands in here, and I can run commands in here. And then I can even split this more if I want, again, vertically or horizontally. And as you can see, I can have as many terminal windows as I want, and this will be very helpful in the future when we'll be running a number of programs and a number of commands at the same time. Now, before I let you go, I just want to show you two websites that I'm going to include in the resources of this lecture. First of all, we have a website here that includes the most common Linux commands, if not all. So you can go through them and familiarize yourself with them. But keep in mind, you don't need to know them all by heart. Like I said, as you go through my course and as you continue on with your journey, you will learn the commands that you need as you go. Another really useful resource that I'm going to include is explainshell.com. This website is designed to explain Linux commands to you. So all you have to do is type the commands in here. So for example, if you just type ls and hit explain, it will explain that ls will list directory content. You could make it more complex and do ls-la, and if we hit enter now, it will break all the arguments and explain every single argument. So again, ls, this contents. If we highlight the L, as you can see, it's telling us that it's going to use a long listing format, as we've seen earlier, and the A at the end is the same as -A, which is all, which means that we do not want to ignore entries starting with a dot, so we do not want to ignore hidden files. So you can do any command in here. You can do apt-get install, for example, and it will actually explain it to you. So it will explain apt is a package manager, install can be used to install packages, and so on. So if you ever see a Linux command that you don't understand, you can always just come in here, put the command, and it'll break it down to you and explain it really nicely. The first penetration.
Psalm 97. The Lord reigns. Let the earth rejoice. Let the multitude of isles be glad. Clouds and darkness surround him. Righteousness and justice are the fountain of his throne. A fire goes before him and burns up his enemies round about. His lightnings light the world. The earth sees and trembles. The mountains melt like wax at the presence of the Lord, at the presence of the Lord of the whole earth. The heavens declare his righteousness, and all the people see his glory. Let all be put to shame who serve carved images, who boast of idols. Worship him, all you gods. Zion hears and is glad, and the daughters of Judah rejoice because of your judgments, O Lord. For you, O Lord, are most high above all the earth. You are exalted far above all gods. You who love the Lord hate evil. He preserves the souls of his saints. He delivers them out of the hand of the wicked. Light is sown for the righteous, and gladness for the upright in heart. Rejoice in the Lord, you righteous, and give thanks at the remembrance of his holy name. Amen.